Well, welcome back, everybody, to part two. And I'm calling this the power of supportive networks. But before we get into what I really want to do about with that, I wanted to follow up on a couple of things from our last breakout with the amazing Diana Olivers. How does one become a diplomat? What do you think? Like, talk about that.
Well, it's tough. Different countries have different methods, but in Mexico, I'm from Mexico. I'm Mexican. I'm from Mexico City. I'm a Mexican diplomat since 2017, and the way it works, it's an opposition contest. So there are two different branches: the diplomatic one and the administrative one. I applied for the diplomatic one, and the way it works, it's you present your resume first, and they run a first filter out of that. Then they ask you to what's the next step? Oh, written exams. So there is a whole week of written exams. So one day is for general culture related to international relations and international law. The second day it's an English test. The third day it's translation skills for a third language. And the fourth day, I think it's a psychometric test, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. Then that's the second phase. No, Spanish test, and that's the one that everyone takes for granted because, well, we're Spanish native speakers. Mm-hmm. You learn Spanish at school, but it's actually the largest filter, because one thing you're asked to do is to write correctly in Spanish. So those are the four tests at the beginning. The first filter, when you send your resume, in my case, there were 2,000 applications for 35 positions. Oh, wow. Then 1,000 of us were chosen to participate in the written exams. Then after that, they narrowed it down to 100 people for the third phase, which was a panel interview with scholars, diplomatics, people from that area. And then we also had an interview in English and a psychological interview as well. We also have a medical examination. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, and for that one, it's 100 people who participate. Yeah. And then out of those 100 people, they chose 34 of us.
Wow.
In my class was made up of 34 people, and well, as we are in the International Women's Day, I just wanted to note something that was very particular, because it's not just the process, that it's very thorough, you need to prepare a lot for all these stages. But it's particularly difficult for women to become a diplomat, because you're moving around from place to place, from country to country. So if you're a woman expecting to build a traditional family, odds are that's going to be really difficult to have both of those things being a diplomat. Because finding a man who's willing to give up his career, to move jobs every 4 to 6 years and moving to different countries is different. And for men, it's easier. And so when I got selected to be a diplomat, in my class we were 34, and out of those 34, only 8 of us were women. Wow. So the gender rate was very uneven. But what's interesting is that when I was back in college, I studied international relations. And for international relations, the most obvious career path is being part of the foreign service. So international relations, my class, we were 28 people, and only 11 of them were men. So we were a majority of women. But when it turns into becoming a diplomat, that rate was completely reversed. So, well, that's about it.
But you also hit on something that is kind of I hate to say it's almost a universal thing, right? Because when women want to be in certain positions, whether it's in the U.S. or wherever else, everyone factors in the family aspect. Does she want to build a family? But men don't get asked that.
No.
At all.
No.
So,
no.
Okay. I'm excited for part 2. And please don't let me down. No, I was thinking really hard about this second session, and it's gone through a few different iterations, but things that have happened this week kind of helped me level set. And I ripped out my pretty crown. And what it helped me level set to is, as I'm getting ready to officially hand the keys over of Women's Day to the Waterfront Center, even though they did all the planning, I'm just here looking cute. It made me think about the first one, why the first one came to be. It was just supposed to be a brunch, and it blew up into this whole other thing, and I'm really, really happy about that. But I had to go back and go, why did I start this? And I started it because there were women in this community in Edmonds who I knew were doing all the heavy lifting, doing all the things in and around the community, in government, all these other things, but the dudes were the ones that were getting front and center. And I was like, there are so many outstanding women in this community who do not get their flowers, that do not get that recognition, but the dude does, who are, fill in the blank of dude. So, in the power of supportive networks, we in this room are the supportive network, should we choose to be that for one another. So, I want you to give flowers, verbally, to yourself, to one another, someone in this room that you know, just to say, thank them for something that they've done that maybe they don't even think about it because it's part of their nature, or just give someone some recognition who doesn't normally get recognition. And I will be the guinea to start. So many people to choose from. Sophia. And again, if you want to pass it around, I would love for you to put it on just to kind of feel it for a second. You don't have to, and you don't have to get up because this amazing microphone can pick up wherever you are, so no one has to move. But I think about Sophie, who I've kind of adopted now as my god niece. But I love her spirit. I love that you show up to things. I love that you're like, how can I help? And I think, especially with young people today, when you get stuck behind video games or D&D or whatever it is, I know that if something's happening in and around Edmonds, if I look up, she's going to be there. And I don't think a lot of people give you those flowers for that. And I think that sometimes you're probably like, why am I like 30 years younger than everybody out there? Which could totally be a deterrent. But I wanted to say that to you in this moment. Just be like, thank you for showing up and helping others. Give flowers.
I have to say thank you to my mom because she helps physically get me to places, and then just as a mom and daughter, like she's helped me grow as a person. She's grown with me, and
And I'll say thank you because we love our mentors, who was always there for us. When we were new nurses 25 years ago.
Or 35.
Yeah. Okay, I've only been there 25. Yeah. But a great place to start in your community and your work.
And it doesn't have to be someone in the room. It could just be someone that's on your mind. Whether give some woman her flowers that you feel like never got them or just doesn't give enough.
My mother died in 2013, and she didn't want to be the one who needed help. She wanted to be the one that helped everyone, and there's a cost to that, and that cost came to her. She has innumerable community. She's beloved by many, and I give my mother flowers because I channel her every chance I get.
Anybody else? I will call on you. Call on somebody.
My name is Jacinta from Kenya, and just like her, I would like to give my mama flowers in heaven. First of all, because she was an incredible woman. She had 16 children. She bore 16 children, 2 of them died. And she was our breadwinner. And she made sure that we were all okay, alive, and in a hardship area. More to that is I got married at 12 years. And my mama believed in me and believed that every girl needed an education. So she supported me to get out of the marriage. And in the process, later on, I had a child with disabilities. And the community said that it's because I disrespected my family and my dad by running away. But she stood with me even though the community cast me out because I have a child with special needs. And she stood there with me. She stood there all the time with me, and she supported me. And she told me it is okay to, as long as we got each other, you are a strong woman. You will go far, and you will be the light of the world. Thank you so much, Mama in heaven, for being there for me.
And I also want to encourage you to get to know our new friend. She showed up on her own. She saw this event online and said, I want to go. And so she came. So let's make sure she leaves with friends. Okay. Next. Oh, behind you.
Yeah, I just wanted to send flowers to my very best friend of 35 years, 40 years.
She's like, don't age me.
TMI. We worked together in a company. We had kids. We went through divorces together. The whole works. And we knew everything. And I just want to say that we supported each other completely. And we have a standing kind of a joke between us. I remember when the crystal vase hit the fireplace. It says everything. Yeah. That's where we were at that point.
You should put it on though. She should put it on for a little while.
Ruined my lovely hair.
Okay. No, it's going to make its way up here. Don't worry.
I'm going to give flowers to a dear friend of mine and someone who's really essential to my social support network. Her name's Kristen Gordon McLean. When I met her, she was Kristen Haggard. We met in graduate school at Emory University in Atlanta many years ago, before I really even knew anything about Seattle or the Pacific Northwest. I'd never been here before. But we became friends during graduate school, and then through different paths, we both ended up here in the Seattle area. I now live in Edmonds, and she lives in West Seattle. And she's just been a really constant sense of support, navigating motherhood together, and then importantly, championing for retaining our professional identities and career navigation as we deal with a lot of midlife challenges. I was in a different session prior to this on mental well-being, and one of the audience members brought up how important it is to have like your own personal board of directors, like a group of trusted people who you can pull together to give you advice, very honest advice and feedback when you need to make decisions. And gosh, I think it's 6 or 7 years ago, Kristen pulled a group of very strong women together, and we would meet every month for dinner in the Seattle area, and we would do that for each other. And we have stayed the course. We have had some challenges as people have moved, or when COVID happened and it was hard to get together in person. But this morning, we're still meeting, and she's still championing that group. And this morning I woke up and the first text message I had was from Kristen to that group, you know, reminding everyone of how powerful we are and how we fill each other's cups, especially when times are challenging. So she definitely deserves flowers for that.
Love that.
Well, I'm going to crown this queen right here. My friend Bonnie. Bonnie and I have known each other since 2008, 2009. And Bonnie, I don't know that you realize this, but when I think about women, I think about international women. You know, the one thing I think that we're known for is creating the home, creating the hearth, and the community. And I think that you do that so well. You make everyone feel welcomed in your home. You always take care of those who are less fortunate. I'm here today because you're always extending the invitation. And I wanted you to know how much you're loved and how much everything that you do really, and what all of us do when we impact someone else's life positively, that we put that energy out into the world. And I wanted to recognize you for that and to thank you.
Aww. It's cleansing.
Thank you, that was so sweet. I'm just gonna probably pass this by, but friends are the most, I mean, all you guys all talk about friends, and you can't get through it without them, you know. Friends are, I mean, everything, and they're family. That thing, that cliche of family you choose, but it's so true.
Sure.
In times like now, I think women friends are so important, really. So, thank you.
All right, next victim.
You want to give me the crown? I think this is my niece Libby.
I know that's right.
Wear it, girl.
That's right. Like around flowers, you reminded me so much to buy myself flowers. Like we've both been working a lot on putting in boundaries and standing up for ourselves, and we're both social workers, and so we give a lot and give a lot and give a lot. And you reminded me to buy myself flowers and to bless other people with flowers. And I'm so thankful that you're in my life and that you remind me to look out for other people. And I'm really proud of you for being here today and for showing up.
For those of you guys that don't know already, yes, this is my auntie. She is, can I cuss or no?
Say what you want to say, girl.
She is, don't worry. I would say she is badass, but in the most like respectful way, okay? You always know how to make sure that I'm being heard and that I'm being seen, and I feel like in this world, especially for us Black women, we don't really get that. So I'm really glad that I have somebody by my side that sees me, that takes me seriously, and makes sure that I'm being heard in this world. So thank you.
Give it to these front row people.
I'm not very good at talking. But kind of back on what everyone was saying about building your own board and the family. This is one of my very best friends. And she brought me here today. She does so much for the community, with it, for it, and I see that. And it's the reason why I love you so much. And you just, oh, I think you deserve it.
All right, Grace.
I kind of, women fucking rock, man. I mean, we're awesome, you know. I think bringing us together, I've come to this quite a few years and try to bring someone new every year and going to continue to do that. I'm grateful to have Chantal here, and I'm just going to kind of think of all of the women in my life and name off a few of them. My aunt, Kathy Shibayama, and the Cheetah Sisters that we meet the first Friday of every month, and we've done that. We started as a compassion, clarity, and cohort thing, and decided to keep loving each other, meet each other every single month, and just have lunch. So that's Kathy Solberg and Penny Yates and Carrie Morehouse and Kim Castaneda and Heather Teagarden, and I was with them yesterday, so it was really amazing. And all of my beautiful women in my life, and including my Girls on the Run women, which one of them is sitting right next to me, so I'm going to pass it down.
Setting you up. I saw that setup.
All right. I will give flowers to my daughter. She is 17, and as a single mom, she really stepped up and has helped me raise my two younger boys, and she's babysitting her younger brother today, and she took him to track practice because she had track practice, but she just does that constantly. She helps get things done, and she is a leader, and she's compassionate and helpful. She is still a teenager. She reminds me of that. Yeah. but she gives me hope for the future, and I love having a daughter who I see a great friendship into adulthood with her.
I'm going to toss it to Mary.
You're going to toss it to Mary?
I'm tossing it to Mary.
I mean, if you must. So I just happened to be sitting next to my beautiful daughter, Chantel. So I'm going to actually give my daughter, Chantel, the flowers. And let me tell you why. Chantel is a very caring individual. She served our country, and she's just selfless in every sense of the word and way. And so, Chantel, you're a beautiful human being inside and out, and continue to be you every day of your natural life. And my daughter has taught me this, and I live by this. If I don't have 10 haters by the end of the day, I'm not doing something right.
So, she already opened it. I'm going to give this back to her. She's not only my mom, she's also my best friend. And she is strong and malleable. She shows me that even if one door closes, there's always some way to get to your dream. Even if you have to adjust it a little bit, there is some way to achieve your dream. So I'm going to put that right back. I'll put it on.
This is such a great idea, like to give this to you. But also, I'm been 100% healthy almost all my life, but I live alone, and in the last month, I've needed to go to ER twice, and had 2 different friends show up to spend the day at different times with me, and I'd like to give them these flowers. Tara Lidvig and Susan Waldron. So, thank you. No, she's no. I'm sorry.
I'm going to do one for the unsung heroes.
Okay.
I work with a lot of amazing women, but the unsung heroes that I encounter, especially this time of year, are the mostly women. There are a couple men, mostly women who work in elementary school offices. They're the office ladies, and they are the most enthusiastic, kind-hearted. I see them interact with kids that come in and need a tardy pass, or a parent that comes in to get their kid out of school to take to the doctor, and they're just so grounded and centered, and they make me feel like there is so much good in the world that you just have to look around and notice it.
is a great idea. How gorgeous is this? I'm pretty happy too.
Amazon, $10.99. Yes.
So I am giving flowers to my stepsister who lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, who I've gotten closer to, even though it's been sort of virtual, for the past year or two or so. She just lost her husband about 2 months ago now. It's hard to keep track of everything. And he had pancreatic cancer. I also lost, in my step family, my son-in-law, who also had pancreatic cancer. And that happened in the last 6 months. 2 different places, completely 2 different people. Son-in-law was 44, I think, and my stepsister's husband was 70 something. But she has been playing pickleball for almost 10 years. This is a person who's almost 70, and she has she's gotten awards and done a really, really good job at pickleball. But she did lose her husband recently, and then she went back to play pickleball about a month or so after he passed. She fell and broke her arm in 4 places, and she has 3 adult children who have helped somewhat, but she really could use help in many other ways, and so I've been there for her quite a while now on the phone, over FaceTime, whatever. Yeah, so she deserves it. But I'll put it on for a second.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet, but basically I wanna give this out to all of my fellow teachers and childcare workers that are inspiring future generations and giving kids hope and compassion and building them up to be their best selves.
I'll go.
Okay, Diane.
It's very difficult to pick one person. So yeah, I'll do a couple. So the first one is a friend of my mom. They've been friends since college, and she was the only one in the group of girlfriends who choose to never get married and never have children. And for the children of that group of girlfriends, even nowadays we see her as an aunt. And I want to give her flowers because she's been such a strong inspiration for me in the way that she's 65 now, and she lives her life at the fullest. She is content with her life choices, and she's such an inspiration personally for me. So I want to give her flowers. And the other person is not here, but is here. Is Teresa Whipple.
Yeah.
We met her through our work in Seattle Media because we partnered with, she approached us to create a partnership with My Neighborhood News Network in a way that we can distribute our newscast and podcast through the newspapers she runs. But she's been a mentor to us. It's obvious she's a pillar of this community. She does so much work, and she's just lent us a hand. She doesn't have to do it, and she still has been so generous to us. So I want to give her flowers.
So I really hope that you take this exercise with you, and I'm trying not to get ahead of my closing comments later on. But I will say that, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is that I would say I've had a very rough 12 months. Still not over it, unfortunately. And got some news earlier this week, and I'm like, oh great, here comes another thing. But I was invited to a luncheon on Thursday, and I wasn't gonna go. It's been hard to just kind of get out of the house and feel motivated and get dressed and be cute and be sociable. And it was at the Seattle Foundation, so I gotta look good, right? So I'm like, okay, we'll go. And so I get there, and there was people I hadn't seen in a while, because I used to work down in Seattle until I left my role at the end of October. And just had not been connecting with anybody, just dealing with shenanigans. And so I walked in very apprehensively, because I was just like, I don't know who I'm going to see, you know, what are they going to say, what are these rumors that have been going around, just all these other things. And so, you know, I'm sitting at this table, and it was an intimate group, but it was a powerhouse intimate group of folks that I've done fundraising from, you know, before, as a nonprofit fundraiser. And so the two speakers that were part of this fireside chat was Dr. Ben Danielson, whom some of you might know by reputation, black male doctor, used to run Odessa Brown Clinic, used to be a Seattle Children's lawsuit thing today. So he was there, and so was a woman named Alicia Washington, who runs the Seattle Foundation. And again, both I know them, they know me, you know, and they're just powerhouse people who got all kinds of things going on. But I hadn't talked to them in a really long time, interpersonally. And so as I'm sitting in my chair and I'm listening to this and having this lunch, and it was done by that brown girl cooks, by the way. Oh my God, so good. So first reason I was happy because I got soul food for the first time in a while. And it was really good. And so they were asking questions about bringing joy and having, you know, facilitating joy for persons and persons of color throughout the region. But one of the things I learned in doing my work down there, and even now, is that, again, you have organizations that talk about region, but they're really just talking about Seattle. And so that was the question that I posed. I said, what do you do for persons and persons of color outside of Seattle when you're talking region to kind of help them do these things? And I kept it super generic because I was not necessarily trying to bring attention to myself, but I'm like, if you're going to say region, I need an answer to this as I'm trying to kick off the civic circle stuff. And so Dr. Danielson gives me some great input, which was, you know, always great. And then Alicia said to me, you know, she gave her opinions as well. And then she stopped and she said, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege. And I was like, uh-oh. And I'm scared at this point because I don't know, like I said, there's shenanigans. But she said, I want you to know that I see you. She goes, I know what's been going on with you. I know who's been attacking you. I know who's been doing certain things against you to make your life hard. But I want you to know that I know about it. And I see you, and we got you. And of course, everyone at the table starts crying. And again, I'm like, I don't want to bring attention to myself. But to say I was never expecting that comment to come from that leader on that level with really big funders in her room to say that. So I know that that wasn't something that was a slight, like that was something she thought about, right? But it reminded me that we can often feel like no one sees us, no one understands what's going on with us, that they'll talk about us but not to us about things, and that's definitely how I felt. So being in that room in that moment, for her to say that, just lifted so much off of my shoulders. And I think mentally, cerebrally, we all know that people see it, but if we don't hear it, if we don't see it, that we can feel like we're so alone in it. So that's what prompted this. Because I'm like, if I'm feeling that way, I know there are others. And so maybe that accelerating action piece was to go, okay, we need to do it, and we need to do it by example. So whether you shared here or not, no demerits, you know I'm judging. But I want to encourage you out of this session, if anything, is to be like, who do I need to tell that I see them? Whether you talk to them every day, or every other week, or it's been a few months. But if they've been on your heart, if you know something that's been going on, even if they don't want to talk about it, I think when you can tell someone that you see them, that it makes all the difference in them. So, I see all of you. Thank you for seeing me. Thanks for seeing each other. And we still got 15 minutes, so we all want to talk about I just really wanted this to be a really feel-good session to come out of this, because there's a lot of bullshit happening right now, you guys. I would think, if anything, why don't I have a nugget? Who's got, anybody got tissue thing? I don't want to be weird and start wiping my nose. Right? But please, babes. Of course the nurse has it, thank you. But, and again, it's a sad thing, but all of us collectively are going through some shit right now. And it's on such a level that we don't even know how to talk about it, I don't think, or our process what's happening. You know, our rights as women are being challenged. The ability to make decisions are being challenged, not by our male counterparts, for the most part as well. And I don't think we're prepared to know how to handle that, because who knew so much would happen in such a little space of time? We're not even 60 days in. And a lot of stuff is happening. So, you know, I think about people who are trying to look for jobs. Now the job market is hella saturated because people, well-qualified people are just being let go of their jobs for one reason or another, no fault of theirs, it just is happening. You know, being able to have services like Medicaid and health, you know, those are being impacted as well. I was at a very boring meeting yesterday in Tumwater around commercial aviation. I'm a nerd, I'm sorry, but I'm at this thing, and I could have went virtually, but I wanted to go in person because I wanted to see certain people. I wanted to see certain legislators when we talked about certain things. But even the fact that what's happening with the FAA is impacting stuff we're trying to do locally. One of the guys who runs the airport in Moses Lake, for example, and I was asking him, is any of this, you know, impacting your work, whether commercial or private? And he goes, we can't talk to anyone at the FAA. Like, they would do trainings for like youth pilots and stuff like that the FAA would normally be a part of. And when they went to go set it up for this next month, he was like, he had to send a message that his person had to send to the very, very top person to know who was all going to be involved. AKA, what's the DEI looking like on this? Oh my God. You know, who are the participants? Stuff they would never have to do before. And now it's impacting that. So that's when I say that when things are happening, it's like it is a trickle now. And it's impacting all of us. So whether it's that, again, if it's that young Caucasian girl who wants to become a pilot, she's being impacted by these decisions that are coming down. So being able to look at things locally and saying, what can we do from this part? But also acknowledge what's happening above, whether or not we can do anything about it is a whole other story. But all that to say is that we're all getting hit. And so if we foundationally as women say enough, if we foundationally as women say we're going to do something about this, maybe I'm not the right person, but I want to be connected to the right person. I want to empower that right person to do it. Same thing with, oh, I hate to say it, running for office. It was already an interesting situation for being a woman to run, let alone a woman of color to run. But in this environment, it's going to be a lot tougher. But that's where we have to be able to set ourselves up and say, I'm your support system. Mm-hmm. I know you talk about your board of directors in politics, we call it our kitchen cabinet. Like, who are your kitchen cabinet people that you can scream at, you know, do all the things, and it's like, okay, let's go. You're going to need that more than ever, because it's going to be so much harder over these next few years getting women to run, even just locally, even just for school board. I should say just, but for all of these different roles that pay you nothing, it's really volunteer work. But to know that the level of questioning and scrutiny is going to get so much heavier just because it's going to be really hard recruiting and, you know, recruiting women to run, period. So we have to make sure that if that is something that we want to be able to support someone on, that we have to build that for them. They have to feel like we got their back. Because it's never a light decision, but it's definitely not going to be a light decision this time. Don't take it from me, take it from Mary.
Well, let me just speak then.
Yes, please. Speak, Mary.
Let me speak then. So I don't know if you guys know me or not, but my name is Mary Anderson, and I ran for a judicial seat 2 years in a row. And as you can see, I am Black and Latina. And sometimes I would get phone calls from voters and ask me the question, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? I mean, I hope you're not for Black Lives Matter. So I say that to you to say this. If I was a white woman or a white man, are they gonna get that phone call? Are they? Probably not. I would go into spaces and I would have my Juneteenth bracelet on, because as Black people, we're proud of June 19th, 1865, because that's when we actually received our freedom.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't celebrate July 4th.
Right.
Why can't I celebrate both of them? People would ask me, why are you celebrating Juneteenth? You live in America. So I'll ask you again, if I was a white male, would they ask you that question? Probably not. And so it is difficult to actually run as a woman, and especially a woman of color. Because at least I did. I can only speak from my own experience. My first book is coming out, and my second book will be about my election. I can only speak about my experience. I even had other women completely hate on me as well.
Been there.
So what did you say to those people that asked you, what are you doing for Black Lives Matter?
When I would get the phone call and someone would ask the question, are you a Black Lives Matter supporter? And so as a judge, I cannot, under my judicial canons, support Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, or any social event. And the reason why is because if I were to say it, then I would have to recuse myself from presiding over these different types of cases.
So you're a judge?
So, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
And so it was difficult for me to actually articulate to some people, because some people would just nut up.
Yeah.
And they would actually just hang up. And I would basically say, I think all lives matter, including Black lives. But my point is, why are you even asking me that question? I wish I could say that, but I couldn't.
I know, that's what I was wondering.
And you know what when I would get that question, I would say, well, I'm Black, I have a life, and it matters. Seriously, I'm like, and that was it. There you go. Because again, they don't really want to know the answer. They just want someone to answer it, period.
Yeah, they want to do it to either set me up for the other person, to actually go to the Judicial Conduct Commission, so I'm actually in trouble, and so I can't do my job.
Right, I didn't know you were as a judge.
And so it's totally different. And here's another one, which is sick. I would get mail torn up, mailed to me, and say, no CRT. And God is my witness. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
No critical race theory.
No CRT. So my point, I'm telling you, these are things that no one knows about, but I'm going to share with the world what happened.
I have another question. I mean, we're all sitting here, and we're all like, we all have our own stuff.
Yeah.
Every single person in here is dealing with what's going on right now.
Right.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
Right? And we're trying to make decisions based on that.
Yeah.
The question is you say like support, community this, community that, but what do we really support? What are we really, I can sit there and support my friend and I can try to do whatever, but how are we really gonna sit there and say enough is enough? What are we gonna do to say enough is enough? It's not just going to PTA or whatever.
Oh, absolutely not.
What the heck do we need to do to say enough is enough? Do we need to start a civil war to say enough is enough? Or what do we gotta do as women? Because we're the ones there's more women in this country than there are men. So what are we gonna do to say enough is enough? We're not gonna put up with this, so what are we gonna do?
The issue is, that's great that you're saying that. That's beautiful. I'm telling you, as a person who has run for office for 2 consecutive years, I would get the most hate probably from women. I get most hate probably from women.
But what I'm saying is,
So
what
I
do we do
get,
now?
yeah, I get what you're saying. So I'm gonna pause that.
Okay.
But what I'm
But
gonna
I'm
say,
still going.
yeah. We gotta. I'm gonna bless and release you after this. But I think
I
that.
don't know that women are taught to hate women. I mean,
Yes.
we're taught that it is
No,
very-
I understand what your question is, and I think I would say it starts with, again, getting us back down to let us start thinking foundationally as women. And that is the part that we need the most help with before we do that next step. It's saying when we can all get together and say, okay, we are unified as women first. Then we start looking at what are those avenues that we need to start working towards. Because no one woman can do all the things. No one group can do all the things. But if you're foundationally saying we're coming at this as from the status of being a woman, then what are those things that we need to tackle? So now, I hope we don't have to get to the point of civil war, even though we see what's happening out there. But I think there's some fights that are going to have to be fought. And I think each person, each group, as they come together, has to figure out what is going to be their piece. Because I think the heaviest lift that we put on each other as women is that we got to fix all the things. And we can't fix all the things. No one person can fix all the things. But start to identify what is the thing you can work on. And then who can you get rallied behind doing that. I think it's going to be multiple armies, if you will, multiple platoons. I know I'm not using I know my military people are in the room, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like there's going to be different groups going to have to do different things to help achieve the same overarching goal. I don't have a solid answer.
I know, that's the thing.
And that's the problem. But how do we find the one thing?
People who are in office that are women that I care about, like
Yeah.
DOC and all these people.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to do my best. Go to, but there's got to be more.
There's got to be.
There's got to be more.
And I hope that
we
it
can't just have an International Women's Day. We got to have a day every single day.
Exactly.
That we're getting out there and saying enough is enough. We're done. We're not going to put up with this nonsense.
And so maybe that's our homework assignment for each other. It's like, what is that thing? I think for me, especially coming off the last 12 months, which has been, I said, what can I do that I can handle? And I think that's the other thing too. It's like, what can I handle at this point? Because I'm exhausted. What is the thing that I can do, that I can own, that I can handle, that no one can take away from me? And I think when it was starting the civic circle, is being able to present information, whether it's about elections or whatever's happening in our community. My focus is I'm going to make sure that everyone gets access to accurate information. Then whatever they do after that information, you go for. But that's the thing that I can do. I can make we're going to politics. But like, if you live in Edmonds, there's this whole Snohomish County fire annexation shenanigan stuff that's going on. And it is divisive. It's going to get more divisive by the time we get to the special election. But I'm doing something that no one else is doing, just because of capacity. So I'm sure that my Edmonds News would do it on some level. Is I'm putting together these community conversations around all these different pieces, recording it, and doing it from just a very informational session perspective. Not taking a position, not trying to do gotchas to anybody, but saying, here's what Snohomish County Fire is saying, here's what the city is saying, here's what the pros and cons committee are saying, and then next week is, hey, here are the other annexed cities. They're talking about their experiences. Then just putting it out there for anyone to get. And say, okay, do with this information what you will to make the best decision that you can. Now, is that a niche thing? Absolutely. But it's the thing that I know I can do to help contribute to the larger cause. So I guess my challenge would be is for everyone to find out what is that thing and that manageable thing. Because that's the other thing we have to unlearn, is that we feel like women got to do all the work. We have to be exhausted at the end of each day, get up early every morning, stay up late at night, do all the things. And if we're not tired, we're not doing enough. We have to unsubscribe from that mentality. And honestly, I think if we do that collectively, we'll get a lot more done a lot sooner, because we won't be so exhausted when we finally get there. But that is the question of the hour, the day, the year, frankly, the administration, is what do we do? And I think that answer is going to be different for everybody. But again, I think if we can get to the root and saying, as a woman, this is what's important and this is what we need to fight for, or protect someone else from having to not deal with certain things, that we can build from there. With that, thank you. Thanks for indulging this exercise. Thanks for being candid and open and asking the tough questions. Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Don't be afraid to have uncomfortable conversations. And my favorite analogy around that, did anyone watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah.
Okay, there was the college Halloween party scene one. So they're at this Halloween party on campus in college, and there's a fear monster. And it brings out everyone's fears that's at this frat party, including Buffy and her folks. So everyone's like, their eternal, scared things is coming out. And it's funny, they're all over themselves. And then finally they get together and say, okay, we're going to band together. We're going to go defeat the fear monster. So they go up the stairs. They're about to enter the room where the fear monster is. Buckle down, open the door. And the fear monster's like this big. And so they look at it, and then they look at each other and go, oh, look at the little feet. And they start flinging it around the room and just messing with it for a little while, and they eventually just step on it. So the moral of that story is that sometimes our fears are so much bigger than the reality of something, because we project that it's going to be this big, hard, horrible thing. But when you can kind of not be that way with uncomfortable conversations, because we think, oh my God, something huge is going to blow up and this person's going to hate me forever. But then you say it, you're like, this actually started a really good conversation. Mm-hmm. This actually maybe blew out a stereotype that I had before. So I always think about that when I'm about to say something or do something that I feel like, oh my God, people know me in this community. What's going to happen if I say this? And I'm like, well, let's just see what happens. Mm-hmm. So that's what I will leave you with. Let's go downstairs, close up, and then happy hour.
Wear the crown. You should wear the crown. No.
I just wanted to tell you that I've been following you since